All right, so we're ready to get going on our step 104. And in step 104, really, all we're doing is changing a couple of lines of code and connecting ourselves to our whatever your domain name is website, and we're pulling the menu. We're going to do this with another menu later, and content, and we're going to manage our content from our WordPress website, and we're going to bring it out front here. What we need to know is, first of all, really what's happening here is exactly what's happening when we use our JSON file, except that we're pulling it from somewhere else, and we have to make a couple changes to accommodate for the structure of the JSON returned by WordPress. So the first and foremost important thing we need to know is that we need to go to our site, and when we go to our site, we actually add in WP JSON. And what WP JSON does for us is it gives us the REST API for our WordPress website, where we can find all kinds of information and get into our data that's available to us through our website. The next thing that we need to know is we installed a plugin called WordPress WP API Menus. And so if we click on that, we'll see that this REST route is not available because of the fact that it needs the version as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the version in too, and that should give us what it gives us is it gives us our options as far as WAPI menus goes, and these are all the routes that are available to us. So we literally can call routes based on the location, which we saw in here when we're managing our menus. We have menu locations, so we literally can say, you know, top menu or social links menu. We can call the menus based on the ID, and we can just get a listing of our menus as well. And we'll start there, and we'll just go. And right now we only have one menu, so we'll put in menus, and we can see that our one menu has an ID of 3, and it's called main menu, and it's in the taxonomy group of nav menu, which that's fine. We don't need to get into that at the moment. But what's important to us is the way that we access the JSON to this menu is by actually just appending the 3 onto the end. And if we click on this, we'll see that it appended to 3, and we see our full route with our endpoint here. We call this an endpoint. And we can see that our entire menu is being built out inside of our browser. And that's the JSON result, just as if we were looking at the menu JSON. So now that we have this information, what we want to do is we want to grab this URL, this route, this link, and we want to go ahead in Dreamweaver and make sure we're in our 104 branch, which we are, and let's open up our app.js. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to start right here in our ajax call. And what we're going to do in our ajax call is replace our call to our JSON file with our new link, with our link to our menu. And we'll save it, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at what happens. And if we're in localhost and we take a look now, what we're going to see is that it's going to break for us. And that's okay. And it's going to break for a few reasons. If we go ahead, we see that it cannot, on line 48, it cannot get the object length because it's calling in the MenuBuilder, and it's making it to the MenuBuilder. But the problem is that our data is structured just a little bit differently. And the way that we know that is if we come in here and we take a look and we go to preview, we can see that our information is coming in just a little different, meaning we had menus before for submenus. Now we have children. And we have more data, which that's fine, but now we have children. And then we have children and children, exactly what we would expect inside of our menus. So we just have to make a few code changes to adjust for that. And we can see that again in here. We can see that we have children, which are the submenus that we're familiar with seeing in our JSON. So under love, and we can see here, if we go under love, here's our children, and there's people, and then here's things. And if we collapse to children, we can see exactly how the menu structure is, which is exactly why we're using this plugin. It makes it so much easier for us because we don't have to rearrange data and information to make it work. So the first thing that we want to do, we'll go back to our code, and at the moment we know that we're passing in the menu, which is fine, and we're asking that to go and build in the MenuBuilder. And the MenuBuilder is where we have the issue with the error. And the reason that we have that error in there is because we're no longer dealing with the menus, we're dealing with children. So we're just updating this piece of data there. And then one other thing that we have to update is if we go out and we look at our JSON again, we'll see that we no longer have MenuName or name or anything like that. What we do have access to, though, is what's called our title. And so we need to go ahead and update our code to go to title as well. Now, this is somewhat a short lesson, and it's a short lesson so that you have an opportunity to explore and understand a little more deeply what's going on in here. And you can see we're just making those few changes. So we're going to go ahead and say save. And we'll go back out to our local host. And let's go into console again. Whoops, there we go. And let's go ahead and let's give it another shot. So at this point, we are experiencing one issue in MenuBuilder, and it's on 148th, and it's our object length. So where are we running into an issue with our object length? So I'm going to look at our code here, and I think that I have found it, which is right there. We have data, and then we have menu. If we look at our JSON, at the top, what we want to access is items. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that, come back out into our code, and what we're going to say up here, instead of data menu, which was in our JSON file, we're going to use data items. We'll save that. We'll take another look on localhost and see if that clears up things for us. We're still running into an issue. Oh, and so here's the next thing that we're running into. And it's the final, I believe this will be the final thing. We want to change our item.children length greater than 0. And the reason we want to do that is we just want to know if it's an object, because at this point we're struggling between variable data and different, whether it's an array or if it's an object. And honestly, what we want to know is if there's something there or not. And so by doing this, it's going to return true or false. If there's something there, it's going to say there's something there, and we're going to build on it. If there's nothing there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bypass that section of code. And so this should take care of it now. We see that our menu has come in. We're actually pulling it from, and the best way to test is to go ahead and go out to your WordPress site. I mean, we can test other ways, but the fun way to test is go out and make a change to your menu. Come back here to localhost, empty cache, refresh, see that it changes. You can really start to see the power of this, because now you can have non-technical people update your website information without breaking anything on you. Come back, test that out, and we're good to go. So at this point, there's just one other thing that we want to do, and just go ahead and make it look a little nicer. And it's always fun to add some interactivity. And so what we want to do is make that menu slide down. If we look on our sample site, on our step sample, and we watch how it works, it just slides down when it comes in. So let's go ahead and right now it just appears. Blip. So let's give it a little more fluid activity. And the way that we do that is we can come up here and we can go ahead, and the first thing we want to do is we want to hide it. We want to make sure that it's tucked away, that there's nothing up there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say nav hide. And what that'll do is that'll just tuck it away. We're going to allow that to stay there. We're going to grab our information. And then what we're going to do is we're going to replace our nav append menu with nav HTML equals the menu, the result of the menu, and we're going to tell jQuery to slide it down. And so that's just an animation effect by jQuery. That's pretty cool, fun to use these different effects. That's why I'm showing them to you. And now we should get that slide effect. And there we go. So at this point, we've completed our menu. We went in, just recap real quick. We updated our information here in our ajax method, our URL path, and we had to make a few changes as we saw as we struggled along a little bit to match the jQuery that we have, and also to accommodate for that variable data, meaning whether it's an object, array, or whatever. Well, an array is an object, but rather than going after a length, we were just basically going after an existence now. We had to change the title and make sure that that was right. And at this point, we should be good to go. So let's go ahead. Let's close our app.js. Let's go out and do one more test real quick. Make sure we get no errors. No errors, just showing us our call to our WordPress site. And I would say that that bread is baked. So let's go into Commander, do a git status. We can see that our app.js has changed, so let's go ahead and say git add, pull those changes in. If we do a git status, we should see it in there. And let's do a git commit with a message of updated ajax request to get menu from our WordPress site. Made a few minor changes to the ajax call and menuBuilder function. Commit that, git status, and we are, looks like our commit did not make it in. That's because I put it in wrong. So let's go back and fix that real quick. So we'll go ahead and commit it with a message, do another status, and you can see why we do statuses right after we commit. Sometimes you don't pay attention to the error, and it's always good to be on top of things. All right, so now we're ready to do a merge. See you in the next video.